במשנה, אין כותבין שטרי חוב במועד. We continue our discussion over the intermediate days of Chol HaMoed. So we said that one may not write a bill of death, meaning if someone owes money, there are certain things that not davar aved. For those who are not familiar, we differentiate between something that you must do during those intermediate days, otherwise you're going to lose, versus things that you can postpone. Tosfot Yom Tov said here, and that's applied mainly at the time of the Mishnah. In a way, what is Shtar Chov? Shtar Chov, let's trace the situation. You have Reuven and Shimon. Reuven owed money, or Reuven asked to borrow money from Shimon. So in a sense, Shimon lent Reuven money, and he wanted to have some type of confidence by writing him a shtar chov, a bill of debt that he owed him money. The thing is, in one hand, Shimon does a favor to Reuven. By the same token, now he is koferbo. Do you think that usually it's not a manner of people? If Mr. A borrow money from Mr. B, most chances is that Mr. A realized that he owed him. He may, for all kind of reason, not capable to return it right away, or return it at all. But the idea is, Tosfot Yom Tov said, it's not considering davar aved. Davar aved meaning if you don't write it, it means that it's going to lose. They said, ve'im eino ma'amino. That's an issue that sometimes, if the lender does not trust the borrower, which means he is concerned that the borrower will later deny the loan, or en lo ma yochal, sometimes the scribe have nothing to eat. So remember, we said at the very beginning of this tractate, one of the categories is situation that someone poel, if it's an employee that have no other way, no other means to put the food on the table. So if this is the situation of the scribe, he's so desperate for fun, harei ze yichtov, he may be right, the bill of death during the festival days. So the Magen Avraham said from the Yerushalmi, he said that you have to know that sometimes in those situations, people have to do it on Chol HaMoed. Meaning, in some cities that they do a lot of gmach, a lot of gmilot chesed, so usually the manners of asking the gabaim, it's Chol HaMoed, it's relatively easy because you catch people at home, etc. So that's, he said that it's considering davar aved, otherwise you can't do it. Anyway, en kodvim sfarim, a scribe cannot do sifrei Torah, tefillin umzuzot bamoed. You can't do it on a moed. Even you think, wait a second, Sefer Torah, tefillin, mezuzot, is what? It's something that it's holy, it's a scroll, it's important. But he said, if even the scribe writes it for himself, not in order to sell it to others, so that's different. The Beit Yosef said in Tafkuf Memhei that you can do it during the festival. The idea is, if it's a tzorchei rabim, if it's for many, like writing Sefer Torah, so it's different. You need, for example, something for the moed itself. So that's a different story. Ve'ein magi'in ot achat, you don't do any type of hagaha. Hagaha meaning you go after the scroll and you correct something in a text. You cannot do it even for single letter, even if they said Besefer Ezra, the Torah scroll of Ezra. That's the era of the Second Temple. So either some said Sefer Azara or Sefer Ezra. So even the use for public, you can do a correction of Chol HaMoed. Rabbi Yehuda Omer koter tefillin mezuzot le'atzmo. Buddha said a person can write tefillin and mezuzot for himself in Chol HaMoed, as far as said, ותובע על ירחו, חלק לציציתו. So he said also a person can do a spin sky blue wool for his fringes, blue fringes, on the thigh. So that's one of the 39 melachot that prohibited on Shabbat. But he said, as long as, Rabbi Dr said, as long as he does it in a shinui, not in a regular manner, which means he made it in such a way that it's appear different. So he said the same here, when it's writing tefillin mezuzot, it said tzitzito, if he needs for himself. But in order to sell it to others, even in the shinui, he can't do it. So in general, Tosfot said, when it's come to tefillin mezuzot, Rabbi Yehuda, it's more lenient than a tzitzit. But he said, if you write it in a shinui, which means you write the broken letters, so that's make it invalid for tefillin mezuzot. That's the Tosfot. So now the Gemara speaks about three different opinions in regards to writing a tefillin. Tanu Rabbanan, כותב אדם תפילין ומזות לעצמו, ותובע על ירחו תכלת לציציתו, ולאחרים בטובה דברי רבי מאיר. So he said, when it's come to writing tefillin, a person can write during the Chol HaMoed, intermediate days, tefillin and mezuzot for himself. So basically we have here three different views, shalosh shitot, three of you. According to the first one, it's the Rabbi Meir. Rabbi Meir said that etzem aktiva, the act of writings, it's not considering melacha, only if it's a derech mecher, if you do it in a way that you do it like a commerce, you're getting a income for that. V'toveh yerecho, so he can spin sky blue wool for his fringes, and he said, v'la'acherim betova. So in other words, you do it for others, it's a favor. You don't get any payment. That's divrei Rabbi Meir. Rabbi Yehuda Omer, Rabbi Yehuda holds that he says, if you do it ma'arim, what is that ma'arim? You do it, you employ artifice, you do it behind, which means first mocher shelo, first he sells his own tefillin, and then since he doesn't have his own tefillin, chozer v'kotev le'atzmo, now we're allowed to write tefillin for himself. So that's the way you can do it properly. So that's the Rashi said. On the surface it appears that Rabbi Yehuda is more lenient, more than Rabbi Meir, that he cannot totally prohibited selling to others. But Tosfot disagree. If you look at the Tosfot, he said the opposite. He said, Lich'ura machmir yoter me-Rabbi Meir. It appears that the other way around is more stringent than Rabbi Meir, she'tir la'acherim. ובתוספות פרשו, דרבי מאיר אינו מתיר אלא בהערמה. So it means only in employ artifice. So he's selling his own tefillin, then he writes his tefillin for himself. But look how the Tosfot finish, he said, ולא הבנתי. Anyway, the third one is Rabbi Yossi Omer, כותב ומוכר כדרכו כדי פרנסתו. So Rabbi Yossi said, guess what? If the person needs to make a living, so he can write and he sell in the regular way, in order to make a living. So the Tosfot goes here and they have two pshatim, two ways. Because the question is that lekula or lechumra? So according to Rashi, he said, be'arvacha, velo mayre b'mi she'en lo ma yochal. So this is very interesting Rashi. Rashi said, we're not talking about someone who's so desperate for fun, is no money to put on the table. No, you just want for Yontev to have wine, to have meat, to have whatever extra on a Yontev. So that's the circumstance Rashi said. Tosfot said the other. He said, דשאר לגמרי לאחרים בשכר, ודווקא כדי פרנסתו. ולכאורה מקל לכולו. So here you have two different avenues. First of all, it's a come out that Rabbi Yossi, it's not mekel, it's machmir. So Tosfot here goes, I'm just giving you the abbreviation. At the very end of the Tosfot, he said, here, לפי מה שרבי יוסי מחמיר, and then he said, ואין ראיה מכאן שמותר להחפין. So there is a big discussion, what about tefillin chol hamoed? So the Ritva said, he followed this Tosfot, he said, so since you're allowed to walk, wise walk, because that's not considering an ot, so therefore the tzarech mitzvah, you can do it. It reminds me a story about the Rebbe of Novominsk. You remember when we went to the Siyum, he's one of the speakers, Novominsk Rebbe. So he said when he was a child, his father always watching. He wants to make sure who are his friends. He was afraid. So one Shabbos, so they're walking in a place and they see a guy putting tefillin. So he was wondering what's going on. He didn't say anything. Then he come back from shul. So they said, good Shabbos. By the way, you know, Shabbos we don't put tefillin. The guy said, you guys are, I don't know what, you making up stories, he said. I know one thing, my father taught me, whenever you go to work, you put tefillin. It's like in a chol hamoed. Anyway, so, v'toveh al yerecho, so at the end of the Mishnah, Rabbi Yehuda said, v'toveh al yerecho, so he may spin blue sky wool for his ritual fringes on his thigh, but not in an ordinary manner. תנו רבנן, תובע אדם על ירחות חלק לסידתו, אבל לא באבן, דברי רבי אליעזר. You can do it, but not with the stones. Why? Because they use it in a, you ease this with spinning process. So you use for a small spindle. והחכמים אומרים אף באבן. The sages said you can do it even with a stone. רבי יהודה אומר משמו, באבן אבל לא בפלך. You can do a stone but not a spindle. So again, the key is the manner that you do it. והחכמים אומרים בין באבן בין בפלך. You can do it both. You can spill the wool with either stone or a spindle. So now we're going to הלכות. אמר רב יהודה אמר שמואל וכן אמר רבי חייא בר אבא אמר רבי יוחנן, הלכה בין באבן ובפלך, והלכה כותב כדרכו מוכר כדי פרנסתו. So in short, you see here the leniency. You can do it both, stone, spindle, and you can you write tefillin, mezuzot in the chol hamoed in a usual manner, and sell enough to provide for his livelihood. Before we go to the next Mishnah, I would like to introduce the different views in regards to avelut. We all know when it's come to a moed, to a festival, so it's no mourning period, but it's a difference here. The Rambam in V'chot Avel chapter 10 said, when you have the moed, forget about mourning. Not everyone follow that. There are others who say that you can do it, but betzin'ah, in a matter of private, you still act in some way. So hakuveret meito 3 yamim kodem laregel. So if the burial took place on Sunday and the festival begins on the end of Tuesday, so Tosfot explained that all the idea of application of Shiva and Shaloshim begins at the completion of the burial. So usually, it's not speaking about Shmuah when you hear the news, that's different. Here it means that at least 3 days before the festival he begins this. But la mimenu gzerat Shiva. So it means not only during the festival the fellow does not need to observe Shiva, but even after the festival he's not coming back to complete the Shiva period. Shmona, but if happen 8 days, but lu mimeno gzerat shloshim. So now he doesn't need to complete the period of 30 days after the festival. So that's the chidush. The Mukhe Yosef said, since the core is the first 3 days, so then all the preceding days already in a different category because of the regel. Now, why we use festival and not Shabbat? מפני שאמרו שבת עולה ואינה מפסקת. Since even on Shabbat we don't act in a manner of mourning, yet it is one of the days that we count for what? For the Shiva. Versus Regalim, the festivals, is the other way around, which is Mafsikin ve'enan olim. So it means they stop the Shiva, but it's not considering part of the days. Rabbi Eliezer Omer Mishachrav et HaMikdash. Rabbi Eliezer said from the time of the destruction of the Beit HaMikdash, Atzeret ke-Shabbat. Shavuot is like Shabbat. Because nowadays, the days following Shavuot are not treated like festival days. So therefore, when it's the time of the Beit HaMikdash, many of the festival offering could not be sacrificed of Shavuot himself, will be sacrificed during the 6 days follow the festival Shavuot. However, nowadays, when offering is no longer sacrificed, so Shavuot lasts for only 1 day in Israel and the diaspora 2 days. So it's treated like Shabbat with regard to mornings. It counts as one of the days of mourning, but not interrupt the period of mourning. If it's Chutz La'aretz, there are 2. Diaspora. Rabbi Gamliel Omer, Rosh Hashanah ויום כיפורים כרגלים, we treat את ראש השנה ויום כיפור ל-12 רגלים, ואומרים לא כדברי זה ולא כדברי זה לעצרת כרגלים, ראש השנה ויום כיפורים כשבת. So you treat the Shavuot according to the sages like festivals, Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippurim, you treat it as Shabbat. So basically, Rachamim hold the same as Rabbi Eliezer, that the reason that we differentiate between Shabbat and festival, because the festival is at least 7 days, Shabbat is only 1 day. So it means that they hold Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur, in regards to mourning, it's equal to Shabbat. So that's the way the Ramban explained. So now the Gemara said that if the festival occurred after that started 30 days, which means that was 8 days before the festival, so he's no longer have the shloshim. Amarav gzeirat, meaning the 30 days, batlu, yamim lo batlu, which means in this certain circumstance, you need, according to Rashi, to observe those days. וכן אמר רב הונא גזירת, בטלו ימים לא בטלו. רב ששת אמר אפילו ימים נמי בטלו. Even those idea of days, the mornings are also nullified. My tama. So the question is, what is the reason? So in my book, ביאורי הכלומר ברש"י על הש"ס, Rashi, my tama lo batlu, klomar be'eze inyan lo batlu yamin. So Rashi, it was bothered with the language, my tama, what's the reason? So Rashi said, it's not my tama, it's like be'eze inyan. In what manners you don't have the annulment of days? So he said, she'im lo gilach erev ha'regel, asur legaleach achar ha'regel. That if he didn't cut her hair before the festival, he cannot do it. Meaning until the end of the 30 days period. So the mourning period was not entirely nullified, and since he did not take advantage of the allowance to cut his hair before the festival, he have to observe all the time, and he have to wait the end of the shaloshim, the end of 30 days, and after the festival as well. Tosfot said even the festival was in the middle of those days. So 19b, so the Gemara asked, Ve'atanya הקוברת מתו 3 ימים קודם לרגל, בטלה ממנו גזירת שבעה. If someone buried his loved one 3 days before the festival, so therefore the decree of the 7 days period of mourning is nullified for him. 8 ימים קודם לרגל, בזלה ממנו גזירת 30, that's what he said, מגלח ערב הרגל, לגלה אותו, do a haircut before the festival, לא גילח ערב הרגל, אסור לגלח אחר הרגל. So if he didn't do it before, you have to wait after the 30 days. Oh, but Sholom מותר לגלח אחר הרגל. He can do it after the festival, even didn't do a haircut before, שגשם שמצוות 3 מבטל גזירת 7, ככה מצוות 7 מבטל גזירת 30. The same manner that the 3 days are now 7 also are now 30s. 7, so it's enough 7 days, וענן 8 תנן. We learn in the Mishnah that it's only 8 days from the burial. כסבר רבא שול, מקצת היום ככולו. ביום השביעי עולה לכאן ולכאן. Rabbi Shul hold that even part of the day, even a short time of the day, it's considering the entire day. So the same here, it's here, the 7 days occurred and counted for the mourner from both ways, which means also the last day of the Shiva and also the beginning of the Shaloshim. אמר רב חיסדא אמר רבינה בר שילה הלכה כרבא שאול ומודים לרבא שאול כשחל שמיני שלו להיות בשבת ערב הרגל שמותר לגלח בערב שבת, that if the days occurred on Friday, can do it the haircut before. We're not doing practical הלכות yet, we'll do it later. כמן נעזלה אמר רב ארמן אמר רב אבל the mourner in the 7 days 7-day period, כיוון שעמדו מנחמים אצלו, the moment that people stand before him and give him word of consolation, so therefore mutar ברחיצה, which means that he can go ahead and take a bath. So all the dinim ritva said that applies to Shiva, it's no longer applicable to him, and that's the Shulchan Aruch Yodein. Shin Tzadikei said mutar ברחיצה כמן, according to whom כרבא שאול, that's follow Rabbi Shaul teaching. So basically he holds that that even part of the day is considered as all day. So therefore, imagine a situation, it's Erev Yom Tov, which happened to Gordon's family, if you remember. Remember the whole mishmash that it was Erev Yom Tov, it's before Sukkot, we went to the cemetery and we buried Marion, and all of a sudden...
Bowman also.
Yes, and it turns that upon completion of burial, it turns that it was buried in the wrong spot.
Oh, right.
And it was a big tumult in Erev Yom Tov, if you remember, and it was a big to-do to transfer to a different row, and the family was adamant there, and they stayed there. It was a big to-do. But the point is, the period is basically that short time, an hour, etc. That's already the completion of time, the moment you have the festival right away there. Amar Abaya l'cha k'Abba Shaul, that you hold part of the day, it's all day. בשבעה, in regard to יום שבעה, the 7 days of the morning. מודים לכם לאבא שאול ביום 30 דאמרינן. מקצת היום ככולו. So the 30 days itself, the morning can do shaving. רב אמר הלכה כרבא שאול ביום 30, הלכה כרבא שאול בשבעה. The other way around. נהרדה אמרי, sages of the city of Nahada hold, הלכה כרבא שאול בזו ובזו. Both in 7 and 30 days. דאמר שמואל הלכה כדברה מקל באבל. So it's יחיד כנגד רבים, even it's one against many. When it's come to law of mourners, we go lenient. Because since Abba Shaul is the lenient one, we follow his direction. Now, how do you know that you have the idea of 30 days shaloshim after the burial? 30 יום מנהלן יליף פרע מן הזירו. להם גזירה שווה, a juxtaposition more discreet in הזירה. כתיב האחה. In regards to Moshe now that not to do mourning over the death of Nadav and Avihu, the Torah said in Leviticus chapter 10, וראשכם על תפרע וכתיבתם בגדי הפאה, שיער ראשו. So you use the word pera twice, מעלן 30, אבחן 30, so both of them is 30 days. ועתן מנהלן הרב מטה, סתם נזירות, said in Tractate Moed page 5, someone said Haredi Nazir, I become a Nazir without saying a period of time. We said it several times, and it's applied to watch 30 יום, the 30 days. מהיתם על המקרא, קדוש יהיה בגימטריית לטין עבור. If you take numerical values, it's 30, so it means that when it's come to Nazirite, the minimum is 30 days. אמר רב הונא בן רב יהושע, הכל מודין שחל שלישי שלו להיות ערב הרגל. So that's anal the Shiva. אסור ברחיצה עד הערב, which means until the כניסת יום טוב, the entrance of the festival. אמר רב נחמיה בן רב יהושע, שכחתים לרב פאבי ולרב פאפה, ליד וכאברי, הלכה כרבונה בן רב יהושע. So that's בעצם ההלכה כדאברי, אמר רב נחמיה בן רב יוסף, השכחתינו לרב פאבי ולרב פאפה דרבונה בן רב יהושע, ליד וכאמרי, הכל מודים שאם חל שלישי שלו להיות ערב הרגל, שאסור ברחיצה עד הערב. So in other words, you need to wait up to the end of the days. So we said that the regalim in the Mishnah not count for the 30 days. באמינא אביי מרבה או רבה קברו ברגל, if you unfortunately it happens, need to bury during the festival, הרגל עולה לו מניין 30 או אין הרגל עולה מניין 30. Is that means that the festival itself is part of the 30 days or not? So I said למניין שבעה לא כאמרי, לא כמבעלה. When it's come to 7 days, for sure it's not count. So you have to act as a mourner 7 days after the Chag. ולא נהג אב מצוות שבעה ברגל, because you just said that the law of mourning not applied to the festival. כי כמבעיה לאלה 30, כאן נהגה מצוות 30 ברגל, מאי? So you count the 30 days אמר לי, and all. So it means that you count 30 days after the festival. 80 והקוברת בתור שניהם עם כל הרגל. How about if you bury the loved ones 2 days before the festival? Now it's the issue. מונה 5 ימים, he count 5 days of a mourning period, when after the רגל, in order to complete the shiva, ומלאכתו נעשית על ידי אחרים, so others can do some work for him. That's basically the בית יוסף in תקמ"ה. ועבדיו ושפחותיו עושים בצנעה בתוך ביתו. So his maid servants do work in private inside his house, ואין רבים מתעסקים עמו. And many in the public don't need to occupy themselves with him. So Rashi said here, כלומר, אין צריכים לנחמו אחר הרגל. So מתעסקים, it means כפשוטו, it's not, it's awkward. So he said, it means להתעסק, occupied with ניחום אבלים, of act of comfort the mourners. You don't need to do that after the festival. 20 שכבר נתעסקו בו ברגל, because they already give him comfort on a festival. So since it's 7 days, you don't need to complete after. כללו של דבר, that's the general principle, כל שהוא מישהו מעבר רגל מפסיקו, וכל שהוא יזכה רבים, אין הרגל מפסיקו. So by acting as comforting the mourners by many, the festival, you comfort the mourner in a festival, so you don't need to complete after the festival. כבר 3 ימים סוף הרגל. From the 3rd day to the end of the festival, מונים 7 אחר הרגל, you count to 7 after the רגל, which means the רגל, the festival is not anal 7. 4 ימים ראשונים, רבים מתעסקים עמו, ב3 ימים האחרונים אין רבים מסתכלים עמו, מפני שאתם מסתכלים ברגל, the same principle. ורגל עולה לו, so you're going to tell me that they count the festival as part of the 30, so it's minus 30 days period, so that's meaning that the 30 days, it's completion upon the 30 days from the burial. So Abai wrapped it up and he said, Ma'ila Seifa. That's the last part of the, which means the second one, that the burial occurred on the festival itself. So it means that the festival is part of the 30 days, even that's a circumstance like that, and that's against the point that Rabbah just said. So it said, Lo Areisha. So it means that if the person is buried on the festival itself, so you count the mourning period only after, and therefore, in that situation, it may happen that the festival is not part of the 30 days. That's the way the Rabbah said. אביי עד, הייתי ברגל עולה לו למניין 30 כיצד, קברו בתחילת הרגל מונה 7 אחר הרגל. הוא מלאכתו נעשה על ידי אחרים בבדיו, ושנתו רב עושים מצנעה בתוך ביתו, that's we said earlier. ואין רבים מתעסקים איתו, שכבר נעסקו עמו ברגל, והרגל עולה לו. So Gemara said the Tshuvta, so that's exactly against what Rabbah said, and he rejected these points. So its conclusion, it means that the days of the festival count as part of the 30 days, even the burial took place within the festival framework. And Ki'ata Ravin, when Ravin came to Babylon from Eretz Yisrael, he said, Amar Rabbi Yochanan afilu kvaru baregel. Even if the burial took place at that period of the festival is count part of the Shaloshim. V'chen orelei, that's the way that they rule, Rabbi Elazar Begal, Rabbi Pedat Brei, afilu kvaru baregel. Even he buried the dead relatives during the festival, it counts toward his 30 days. עשיית תפילין וציצית במועד. So that's the Shulchan Aruch Orach Chaim 545. One may write tefillin and mezuzot for himself and spin strings on his tights of the tzitzit if his income is minimal, or if he needs to make more money in order to cover the expenses of the festival, then he may write this item and sell enough to others to earn a living. So that's again, the whole question is that the Ramah said is under the category Poel she'en lo ma le'echol. Now we talk about the law of mourning. So he said Shabbat is counted as one of the days of mourning, although the restrictions of mourning may not apply during it, and does not interrupt the mourning period. That's Shulchan Aruch Yoreh De'ah 400. Now we differentiate between festival and Shabbat. So we said festival interrupt, and they do not count. If one begin mourning before the festival interrupt his mourning, and he does not continue mourning upon the conclusion of festival. However, if he did not begin observing mourning practices before the festival, then the day of festival are not counted toward the mourning period, and he must observe the mourning or it's entirely afterward. So now in the Galut, in the diaspora, where there are 2 festivals they observe, the last day of the festival is counted as one of the 7-day mournings. So only 6 more days are observed after the festival ends. That's the Yoreh De'ah 399. we ask a question about Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. So the Halacha follow the Rabban Gamliel. Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur are the same status of festival with regard to mourning, and again that's Yoredea 399. We also ask about the third day. If a festival interrupts one 7-day mourning period, he may launder his clothes on the day preceding the festival, though he may not wear laundered clothes until the festival begins at night. However, he is prohibited from bathing until the night falls. So since some allow him to do it, so it's more on that is the Magen Avraham and Rema and Shach and Taz on the Yoredea 399, and also Rachaim 548. We said that if someone lost his loved one during the festival, that's Yoredea 399. On one whose close relatives dies during the intermediate day of festival, observes the halachot of acute mourning before the burial, like on Nenut, and afterward he privately observes the custom of mourning. In such a case, the festival counts to the 30-day mourning period. That's happened to my late grandfather. He passed at the middle of the Pesach, so brine wine. So that's the public comes to console him during the festival, and he may perform any work if refrain from it while causing him to incur a loss, as it's in the case of anyone else during the intermediate days. The Rama said that any work that does not fall into this category may be performed by his servant or maidservant, but it's all in private. Once 7 days have passed from the time of the burial, even though he has not completed the 7 days mourning period, his work may be performed by others in their houses. Consolation by others is only for the reminder of the 7 days minus the days that he was mourning during the festival. He practices the 7-day mourning period in the ordinary manner of the festival, but in diaspora he includes the last day of the festival as one of his 7 days, although in practice he does not mourn on it, and therefore he observes only 6 days of mourning. That's the Yoredea 399.
לשולוים מלאכי השולוים מלאכי